Hello everybody, welcome back to Cure for the Common Game. Today, in deck number 499, we're going to talk about Pramikon, Sky Rampart. Sorry. And by the way, happy Tree Day. That's a holiday known only to my family. It's kind of an event. Today is November 3rd, and so we are... it's kind of a big thing at the Canada House here. It's a big deal. The family comes over. We put up the Christmas tree. It's kind of the kickoff to the holiday season. Yeah, I know some of you think it's early, but you know, it's just something that got started years ago. But anyway, I guess it's from a lifetime of me working in retail. Well, let's talk about Pramikon. Now, when this thing came out, memes aplenty. So, for a blue, red, and white, we have a 1/5 Flying Defender wall. Okay. This is our first legendary wall we've ever had, barring, like, you know, changing abilities or whatever. But as Pramikon enters the battlefield, choose left or right. Now, each player may attack only the nearest opponent in the chosen direction. And, of course, they're walkers. Now, there was a lot of possibilities with this. And, you know, the first thing that comes to mind is, yeah, it's a red, white, and blue wall that makes you choose left or right. You know, Conspiracy gave us all those voting cards, and there are a lot of advisors. There's a lot of, yeah, there's enough to make that meme deck work. And I was kind of unsure as to what I was going to do with Pramikon. By the way, what an awesome name, Pramikon. I think I did a little short video on that. That name could be anything. It really could. Go back and watch that video. I won't go through it all again. It's not but a couple minutes long. Anyway. So I had this in the box, and of course Eldraine came out, and that gave me plenty to do. And the more and more I thought about it, this is, let's look at exactly what it is. This is the best wall ever made. Think about it. Because most walls, yeah, you hide behind whatever. But you have 3 opponents. This wall makes it so in a multiplayer game, you only have 1 opponent. So there's only 1 player who can attack you. And you can wait until you see what the biggest threat is to see if you want to choose the left or the right to be able to attack you. So that is outstanding. And one thing popped in my mind, and I'll show you one card, and we're just going to give it all away. The Chain Veil. Pramikon Super Friends. Because, think about it, one of the inherent weaknesses with Super Friends is, well, it just dies so easy to creature damage. Everybody's got creatures, and as soon as you cast the first walker that somebody doesn't like, it doesn't make it around the table to your next turn. Because of this, Planeswalkers are not that highly regarded in Commander or in any multiplayer format. Because when the walker comes down, it's like that walker becomes the archenemy, and everybody attacks it till it's dead, and then you've gotten nothing, and you're back at square one playing another walker. But this way, Pramikon says, no, none of the rest of y'all can attack me or my walkers, just the one, and we're probably going to choose that deck that isn't real heavy aggro. So let's look at our walker suite. Now, Sarkhan the Masterless was just, I love this, and evidently from War of the Spark, I have pulled so many of these things. And I love the fact that your walkers can become dragons. So late in the game, once you're down to 1 opponent, you can, you know, or 2 or whatever. A Johnny Vengeant. Now, Johnny Vengeance is a strong card, that ultimate of personal Armageddon is just bonkers. However, you in this particular deck, you can do this. I mean, there's so many options. The person you've chosen who can attack you, you can just nerf them, or the person who's in the lead. It's Johnny Vintage, a great card. Teferi, 3 Fairy as they're calling him, Teferi Time Raveler. The wonderful part about Walkers is, like his static ability, each opponent can cast spells at any time. They can cast a sorcery. So even though you're not attacking your other people at the table, you're affecting them with your Walkers. And of course, with 3 Fairy comes Karn the Great Creator, Dovin Bond, and the Royal Scions I got as a pre-release stamp. I think this card is really good. Of course, in Standard right now, it's getting overshadowed by that other guy. Oh, what's his name? So, then of course we have Chandra. And believe it or not, that's the only Chandra I'm running. Wow. So, Muyan Lane, Rouse Eric, flip 5 coins, Gideon Jura, Gideon of the Trials, Dovan Hand of Control, makes him cost 1 more, The Wanderer, wow, yeah, Ajani Strength of the Pride, Jace Wielder of Mysteries, Saheeli Sublime Artificier, Teo the Shield Mage, Jace Balerin, Jaya the Venerated Fire Mage, Tibalt Rakish Instigator, Nahiri Storm of Stone, and Rowan Fearless Spark Mage. I almost, the way her hood is blocking some of the letter, I almost said Snark Mage. I don't know. It could happen maybe. So, obviously with our, what is that, 20-something Planeswalkers, we've got to have our good Planeswalker cards, We've got the Oath of Teferi, because double activations are pretty sweet. Hence the Chain Veil. Now that I remember, Emery, man, I messed up. Y'all remember a couple decks ago where I put that Tezzeret the Seeker in Emery because it was artifact based? This is clearly where it goes. Because I had ordered the Tezzeret, and then when it came, I ordered it while working on this deck. Now that, oh yeah. And then it came in, and by the time it came in, I had shelved this deck and I was working on Emery. And naturally, I thought, artifacts, blue, this is where it goes. But that's what Tezzeret is supposed to be, simply because of the Chain Veil. You get the Chain Veil and any other artifact, Mana Rock, what have you, and you have infinite Planeswalker activations. Yeah. So, gonna have to find a card for Emery to get that Tezzeret back here where it needs to be, because this is clearly the answer. Anyway, Oath of Teferi, Call the Gatewatch. For the life of me, I don't understand why this card is still cheap. Back in Oath, it was super cheap. It was under $0.25, and I traded and bought for a whole bunch of copies, and it is still stupidly cheap. War the Spark came out, and I thought, man, all these walkers, it's gonna... No, nobody cared. But here's my thing. This is a Planeswalker tutor. Now, when they made Idyllic Tutor, nobody cared about it at first. Nobody cared about it. It was a bulk rare. But they realized, it took years, but they realized it was good. Because, they're not going to stop making enchantments. Well, guess what? They're not going to stop making Planeswalkers. That's the face of the game now. So, I don't know. Call the Gatewatch seems pretty good. Thrumming Bird, of course, for more proliferation. Speaking of proliferation, Inexorable Tide. Why not? Flux Channeler. You cast a non-creature, proliferate. And then the Super Tutor, Ignite the Beacon. Now, I guess before we go any further, let's look at some mana, because the thing about Planeswalkers is they tend to be very specific. So, we have got, this was one of the chosen decks that got an Arcane Signet, because I've got 4, because I bought the four Brawl decks. Darksteel Ingot, Commander's Fear, Boros Locket, Azorius Locket, Jeskai Banner, Mana Geode, and Mana Lift. I don't have a whole lot of counter magic. I'm running the Hypnotic Sprite, Dovin's Veto, and Negate. I shied away from actual counterspell because of the blue, but maybe I shouldn't have. But I want to talk real quick about my buddy Danny. And I'm going to tell you about a game that happened years ago. This is probably 3-4 years ago. We were sitting down. It was a giant game. And it was early, turn 2, turn 3. And I cannot even remember what it was I cast. And he kind of looked concerned from across the table. He said, what is that? And I explained to him, and he goes, oh, hinder, counter it, put it on the bottom. And I was like, that sucks. Okay. At least I didn't lose it. It's on the bottom. And the turn order goes around back to his turn, and he untap, upkeeps, and casts Tunnel Vision. Name a card. Target player reveals cards from the top of their library until the named card is revealed. If it is, that player puts the rest of the revealed cards in their graveyard and puts the named card on top of their library. So these 2 cards, he milled my entire deck. Now, I lost instantly because there was an extra card draw card in play. I think it was Rat's Flourishing or something like that. So we were drawing 2 cards a turn. So there was only 1 card left in my library, and it was to what he hindered. And at first, you just kind of sit there and you're like, oh, it's so early in the game, but you can't even really be mad because it's so dang cool. This weird interactions, that's why I love this game. Even though that's not weird, that's a very popular thing to do. It's one thing to know about it, but it's another thing to have it done to you just out of the blue. Now, we've got walls. Don't have a lot of walls, but we do need a way to protect our Planeswalkers from our one opponent that will be attacking them in the event they should get some. So, Wall of Denial is a really good wall. Fog Bank, also pretty strong. Now, the test subject, a 0/3 wall, kind of not that awesome, but here, the real reason why we're playing it is because it transforms into a 13/13 trample, And I figure in this deck, we've got time. Yeah, 2 to cast, and effectively it takes 10 more mana to get it up there. But that's, when you cast it, you're putting a 13/13 on layaway. You don't have to come up with all that mana at once. A little here, a little there. And then Wall of Stolen Identity, and I'll be honest with you, I put this in there because it was new, and but it enters as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it's still a wall in addition. And it still has Defender in addition. Okay? But the copy creature gets tapped, and it don't ever untap as long as you got this wall. So, this is weird and obscure enough to where this is going to generate an amazing play. It may take a couple times, but there's going to be some interaction with an opponent's card that just, I don't know. it's the weird cards like this that can create those weird game states to where you're playing with cards you shouldn't normally be playing with. And because we are playing with walls, I have 3 spots in my deck that are probably going to be highly contested, but I've always wanted to play them in a commander deck, and I never have. And what's that? 4 walls, plus we have a wall commander. There was a cycle back in Legends, the glyph cycle. Now, these were all instants at 1 mana that dealt with walls in some fashion. The glyph of life, 1 mana instant, damage done to target wall by attacking creatures is added to your life point total. Cool. The glyph of delusion for blue. You put X counters on 1 target creature that target wall blocked during this turn, and X is the power of the blocked creature. That creature doesn't untap, so if it's a 5/5, it gets 5 counters on it, and it's asleep for 5 turns. That pretty much, yeah. And then we have Glyph of Destruction. Target wall you control gains +10/+0 when blocking, but it dies at end of turn. Oh, and any damage dealt to that wall is reduced to 0. So, this is a pump spell that when you're sure your wall is going to die anyway, bam, and it destroys whatever it blocked. Oh, well, I say whatever, +10. That's pretty strong. So, I've always wanted the glyphs in a deck, but it had to be wall tribal, if you will, and I really wanted to play with the red one. That was the whole point, was the +10 instant. And the other wall decks that I've built over the years, Doran, Arcades, whatever, it didn't quite fit, so I elected not to go with the glyph cycle. Now, another way to control creatures attacking you or your walkers is another cycle, the Vow cycle. You know, I'm going to make your creature better, but they can't attack me. This is also decent if, you know, your wall gets blown up 1,000 times and you just can't afford to cast it. So, it does do some nice creature control, and it's creature control to the point where most of the time your opponent doesn't feel bad about it. It's not like they're, oh man, he destroyed my creature, he pacified. Nope. Hey, it's better. Just send it somewhere else. So we got the Vow of Duty, the Vow of Flight, and the Vow of Lightning. And kind of a equipment vow in Bloodthirsty Blade. Now, Pendril Mist, great card to control the... Here again, this is a way to affect the board without attacking the board. You know, each creature has an upkeep cost of 1. Now, we don't have a whole lot of creatures, so we don't, you know, we're going to upkeep Pramikon and go about our merry way. Of course, we have Disenchant, Solar Blaze, and Planar Outburst for a little crowd control. Now, False Peace, running the False Peace, super funny. This is great when you've only got 1 player that can attack you, because cards like Peace Talks, and you know, I thought about putting Peace Talks in, but I like False Peace a little better. You know, target player can attack on their next turn, and there's only 1 player that can attack you thanks to Pramikon, so appreciate it. Leyline of Sanctity, having hexproof. This is important because there's going to be a lot of times where Pramikon is probably our only commander, and it's probably our only creature, and it's the only thing, you know, keeping us alive, saving us. So edict effects are... That's the whole reason why Leyline's in there, is because I was just running scared of edict effects. Now, Role Reversal. You can swap 2 lands, 2 artifacts, whatever. You just swap them. And I love the fact that it doesn't say you control. Exchange control of 2 target permanents that share a permanent type. As y'all know, I love to meddle in things that don't involve me in the game. So it's taking player B and player C and swapping their creatures or lands or whatever. And it's a good diplomatic tool as well. Hey, is his creature bothering you? Would you like to have it? Would you not attack me then? I mean, you know how it works. Ghostly Prison. Now, keep in mind, Ghostly Prison does not protect your walkers because it can't attack you, but it does make it harder to attack you. Sphere of Safety is a really good card, but I didn't feel like there was enough enchantments in the deck to justify it. And our last non-land card is Approach of the Second Sun, because there are times we just need to get it over with, win the game. So we have some non-basic lands, and boy do we ever. There is a bunch. So we're going to roll through these pretty quick because they're all pretty straightforward. Stone Quarry, Windscarred Crag, Transguild Promenade, Mystic Monastery, Gateway Plaza, Interplanar Beacon, because we're playing walkers, Command Tower, Caldera Lake, Meteor Crater. Is it Guildgate? Is it Boilerworks? Swiftwater Cliffs, Highland Lake, Sigiri Refuge, Meandering River, Azorius Chancery, Azorius Guildgate, Tranquil Cove, Evolving Wilds, Boros Guildgate, and lastly, Sanctum of Eternity. Now, the reason why I love Sanctum of Eternity is board positions can change. And if you chose one direction that can only attack you and suddenly that player out of nowhere builds up, you can bounce your commander and reset it and choose the other direction so that you're not in as much danger. That was my purpose. And yeah, I could have gone with a lot of bounce cards, but that was, it is a land. I realize we're playing 3 colors, and a strictly colorless land is, kind of risky on the mana base. That's why there's so many multicolor cards. But let me get the basics here, because I will probably end up playing this deck soon. Friday. Actually, Friday was yesterday, so for me, I think. I don't know. It just depends on when we watch, right? I try to avoid, date stamping things because I never know the time people are watching. But anyway, that is Pramikon. I got through it without. Can't see the. Can't see the wall. $4.99. Well, that's the biggest. All that's left is deck number 500, and that's a landmark. I'm actually going to start working on it right now. It's 500. That's you don't realize it, and because a lot of times this is just me being randomly whatever. But I really don't. You don't think about it because I'm building one deck at a time for the most part. I do the best I can with that deck with the cards I have, and but you're building one deck at a time, and everybody builds decks a lot. It's just a lot of people take them apart and rebuild something else and use the parts and whatnot. But a lot of times like when I walk through that door sometimes, most of the time, it just doesn't strike me as odd. But then there are times when I walk through the door and I look at that wall and I go, this is not normal. But it wows me sometimes. It really does. I don't know. It's a lot of time, sure enough. But 500, I think as of right now with Throne of Eldraine, there are, because I've been trying to keep up with my spreadsheet, there are 860 commanders. Now, that won't be 860 decks because of the partner commanders. The first time we got partner commanders, they were, some of them I have built singly, but some of them kind of begged to be, partnered together. So there won't be 860 decks to use the 860 Legends. So, and I guess in theory, if I was going to build every possible combination, I would have had to have gotten like, what, 20 sets of that commander? Because I think there's 120 something possible combinations. Yeah, no. no. But I do appreciate y'all watching. I mean, it's been one heck of a ride. This is, we're in November now, and I think November 11th of 2016 was when I started. So, I mean, we're looking at 3 years, 500 decks. It's an amazing thing, and y'all have been right there with me through the entire journey. And I want to thank you. Thank everybody that watched, subscribed, liked, shared, commented, became a patron. Thank y'all. Thank y'all so much. I told myself I wasn't going to do this before number 500, but I've got a feeling that number 500 deck is going to be pretty long anyway. Because, hey, what were my Centennial decks so far? Let's look, shall we? We have deck number 100 up here. Sorry about the glare. Deck number 100 was the Weatherlight Saga. I'm rotating them up as I count them. That was the Weatherlight and Gerard, the original Weatherlight Saga, not 2.0. And then deck number 2, deck number 200, we got Dinosaurs for the first time. So that is Tribal Dinosaurs, Gishath. Deck number 300 up here is Arcades the Strategist. Hey, another wall deck. I don't really remember why I chose Arcades for number 300. I don't know that I did a real big, for some reason, a real big thing for 300. Number 400, Jace Vryn's Prodigy. That's a very, very special deck for me. Y'all know I did that deck take. It's not an amazing deck, mind you. I get it, but it means a lot to me because my grandson was named after Jace, hence the Jace picture, and yeah, got a lot of Jace stuff in the house. So, and that's why, because we call him Baby Jace. And then number 500, Angus McKenzie. So it's not done yet. There's probably I say start building today. Technically, I guess I have already started, but what I've been doing thus far is, I want that card in there, so I'll just throw a card in the box. Just throw a card in the box. I haven't actually laid it out and tried to fill in holes and get a strategy and, plan to win a game. But I think that's enough rambling, probably enough recap. I appreciate y'all very much. Thank y'all so much. We're going to look over here and wake my mouse up. But I appreciate it. Y'all let me know what you think. I'm super excited about number 500. Thank y'all for watching and, just ramblings of a Magic fan. But right now, it is time to shuffle and cut.